So I've been studying this tariff scenario, trying to see how is it going to work out, right? Obviously, nobody truly knows, and the Trump administration says it's going to be great for America, and obviously the opposite side says it's going to increase prices for Americans, because the importer pays the fees, and the importer is us. We're importing the goods. And looking at it from both sides, I just don't see how these tariffs in the long term are going to be good for America. So in the short term, it's obvious. We are taking in billions and billions of dollars in tariffs. And they're saying that it's not being passed on to the American people. And we're taking that money, that surplus of money that America is making every month, and putting it to our $37 trillion deficit. And to be fair, that sounds like a phenomenal plan. However, we know that even though some of the tariffs and probably most of the initial tariffs were not passed on to the American people, eventually they will be. Eventually the importers will be passing that along to Americans. And Scott Bessent, somebody who I thoroughly respect and obviously is a billion times smarter than me, he's saying that even if they do pass it on to us, it's a one-time tax, which means that that tax wouldn't be inflationary. However, I completely, totally disagree. If you take, let's say, the country Cambodia, it's a 19% tariff tax. Do you think that all of a sudden, like right now, they might be eating at 19%, so we don't see the bump up in price? So they maintain their price because they want to do trade. They're willing to lose that money so that they can offload the supplies that they're trying to sell to us. Fair, but in a couple of months, do you think they're gonna go ahead and continue to do that? No, they have margins that they work off of, that they are used to and that they enjoy in order to keep themselves profitable. But do you think they're going to raise their fee to the or the price by 19%? No, because the importer is going to be like, that's too expensive, I'll go elsewhere. So what's probably going to happen is, let's say Cambodia again just says, you know what, let's raise the price 5%. So you could say that that's a one-time tax, so it's not truly inflationary, but the price goes up by 5%. So eventually, if they go from the 5%, and then in a couple of months they go 10%, in a couple of months they go 15%, that isn't a one-time tax. That is an inflationary event, which those numbers will eventually be reported because the inflationary numbers are reported every single month. And listen, when we did the deal with Cambodia, I believe they said that they won't charge us any tariffs, so we can trade with them freely. That's amazing. That's great. Except, what's Cambodia going to buy from us? They do buy a lot of stuff. They cars, but what kind of cars? Like the $60,000 cars? I doubt it. They do purchase some electronic stuff from us. They purchase some agricultural stuff from us, but not nearly what we get from them in volume. So it sounds like we got a great deal by them not charging us any tariffs and us charging them 19% tariffs. But again, I don't see how they don't pass it on to us eventually. So again, right now they're not passing it on to us. That's what the data is showing. Obviously, the data is lagging data, so they could have been by now. And this is why Jerome Powell is like, hey, I would have, this is what he said, I would have lowered the Fed funds rate if we didn't put the tariffs. He says he wants to see what the tariffs are going to look like. And let's say that companies do come back to America so that they can avoid the 19% tariff or 15% tariff, or in some cases, higher than 19%. Is that 19% still going to save them money if they still have to pay? Now they got to pay a worker, right, in America, probably quadrupling the wage, insurance for that worker, taxes for that worker, maybe 401k, maybe a match, maybe some type of retirement. And now the building in America costs so much more than the building in, let's say, Cambodia or Vietnam or China. Trump is correct in saying that if a country does not produce and only consumes, it's a very, very vulnerable spot for a country. There's no debate in that. And we are becoming just a consuming overall country. We have more executives, right? More people like me sitting in a stupid chair doing our work than we have construction workers. Hence the housing shortage. And even then, a lot of our blue collar workers are immigrants. So you guys tell me, what am I missing? How are this some of the smartest people in the world saying that this tariff thing is great, phenomenal? And right now, in the immediate, it is, especially if they're not the companies in other countries aren't passing on those tariffs to us. But I think we'd all agree that eventually they will, and they won't do it immediately. They'll do it in steps. So how, if they do that, how is it better for us? I'm honestly looking for an answer. And if you got one, or you got a good video that explains it where I don't see it, you know, put it in the comments, tag me. I'm open. I just don't see where the win is in the future. And but again, I feel like I have to be wrong because half the country is saying this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. But then you got the other half saying this is going to hurt Americans. Please, if you got something valuable to add to this, put it in the comments.